What's up, everyone? Welcome on into another episode of Golf on Tap. We'll be breaking down the BMW Championship from last week, and of course, the Tour Championship as the 2022-2023 season wraps up. But before we get there, we absolutely got to talk about the BMW Championship at Olympia Fields. Kyle, of course, we brought him on last week to break down Olympia Fields ahead of the tournament, being a member there. Kyle, for 5 years, correct?
Yeah, for around 5 years.
5 years. So he obviously had some great insight to provide on that show. Was also a volunteer throughout this tournament. I was boots on the ground there as well. We got to talk about all of the awesome experiences and the awesome conclusion to the BMW Championship this last week. But fellas, how we doing, Joey? How's it going, brother?
It's going good, man. Making sure the mic's off mute. Yeah, I didn't have quite as good of a weekend as you guys did being there, but it was fun to watch from home, man. I thought it was just an entertaining tournament, and obviously cooler knowing that there were people that I knew at the tournament. That's a spicy meatball. I recorded that, by the way, Jack. I got that.
Great, excellent.
So I got to go back though and actually listen to it and find it. But yeah, just seeing your guys' content all weekend long, the articles, the tweets, the videos from you, from Ron, Tony, Joe Chats, just knowing that you guys were right within an arm's length of these guys all weekend that were just putting together some incredible shots was awesome to see. And I thought it was a great representation of On Tap and just a great representation of golf in general this week. Just the tournament, the scoring wasn't quite what we thought it would be leading up to it, as far as like we thought it was going to be a little bit tougher, but all in all, I think it was just very entertaining. So yeah, I'm doing good, man. Kyle, how are you doing?
Mother Nature's a bitch, man. It made my course look like it was a local muni. No, it was still difficult. I thought that it was interesting to see all the post interviews from like the players, and all of them were like, I don't know how people are shooting such low scores over the week, because they're like, this place is hard. And yeah, it didn't play as difficult as I thought it would. But then again, we were talking about it off the air. I think that the tournament ended up being exactly what it needed to be, right? You had the star-studded leaderboard, you had birdies and drama, and at the end, the guy who won was somebody who adores Olympia Fields. He had been there plenty of times to play before, a guy who was Jack's pick to win the whole thing from the get-go, and he was also the one who was the most deserving. I mean, to shoot that score on that track and in those conditions, like it was hot, it was muggy, it was difficult to hold greens on that day. Probably not as difficult as the Saturday was, but still not easy. And it was just such a great tournament. I want to say, like, I had so much fun. I was exhausted by Sunday. It felt more like I was in a golf tournament opposed to these guys. I got a newfound respect for those guys on how they, go through the week. And they do that every week. They deal with, walking 4 difficult rounds of golf and 5 adding a pro-am and practice rounds and travel and fans bugging you for golf balls and gloves and tees and autographs. But at the end of the day, like, it was just the club showed so great. And, the volunteers, the country club, Western Golf Association, the PGA, the BMW Championship group, like, home run for the whole week. It was just a lot of fun to be there. It's fun to see good golf, and I'm excited to play those Sunday pins this weekend.
Yeah, it was man, it was an absolute dream being there. Once again, thanks to the Western Golf Association, thanks to Olympia Fields. Kyle, thank you for helping us get there. It was an absolute dream week. From the practice rounds on Tuesday and the Pro-Am on Wednesday, and being able to follow these guys around and just get those, literally being a foot away from these guys while they're hitting their shots, getting that type of interaction, and also watching a lot of these guys take the time to go and show love and show support to the fans and go and sign autographs and have small little conversations. Like, you just don't see that in really any other sport. You get walls and fences in front of everybody, and it just doesn't happen in golf. And it was such an awesome experience, first time covering a tournament, and then following Victor Hovland on Friday and Saturday, and for most of Sunday as well. Kyle, you mentioned he was my pick to win this thing to start the week. So watching him go on that absolute heater on the back nine, I mean, to shoot 28, to record 1-4 on the back nine, and it was on the par 5. It was sensational, and you're absolutely right. He was deserving with that performance that he put together. And you referenced how hot it was on Sunday. Man, it was absolutely no joke. I was on 2 with Victor Hovland and Rory McIlroy on Sunday, and I was up the right side of the fairway, and Rory hit one a little wayward to the right-hand side. And, if there's a ball in the rough, people are flocking over to get around that golf ball, especially when it's Rory McIlroy. I learned a couple of things this week. Rory is beloved by more than anyone by a landslide. It's not even close. The love that Rory gets, it triples anyone else's at the very least. And also, all the women love Victor Hovland. As someone who was covering him all week, there were just women flocking to follow that man along the golf course. But going back to what I was saying, I was right there off the fairway with Rory McIlroy's second shot, and there were like 5 rows deep of people like right there around it. And I was just full body sweating, and I could see Rory McIlroy on 2. He had only played 1 hole, and you could already see the sweat coming through his pants. I mean, really tough, warm conditions, and for Victor to do what he did, yeah, it was just spectacular. An unbelievable finish. I was on cloud 9 until I had to come back home and come back to reality a little bit on Monday. But man, it's just been a spectacular playoff, a spectacular event. Yeah, it wasn't as difficult as we wanted, but it was absolutely star-studded of a leaderboard, and it was an incredible finish to get Scottie Scheffler and Victor Hovland duking it out at the end there. I mean, 2 of the most well-known superstars on tour, 2 top 5 guys in the world. It's all you could really draw up. So yeah, man, absolutely incredible. But before we do move on, Kyle, I want you to tell everyone out there what kind of you were doing throughout the week, who you were with throughout your rounds, and some of your favorite moments that you can share with us as well.
Yeah, so as a volunteer, I try to do a different job every year that we do have a tournament. I know it's only been 2 that we've had at Olympia Fields, but in 2020 I was a marshal, which was pretty cool because obviously with no fans, I had unlimited access to the golfers. At that moment, it wasn't the top 50, it was the top 75. So there were, far more players, more tee times. It was longer days, but this year I was like, I kind of want to try walking scoring. So I got to walking score for 3 days, one of which being the Pro-Am, and got to meet Jordan Spieth. He was one of the guys that I had as a walking score, and get a good chance to talk to him prior to his first Thursday round. And getting a chance to talk to him, it was interesting. Like I didn't try to pick anything other than what he thought about the course, being a member there. And it was fun to, just kind of go through. And now, mind you, we had 2 players that were on that. We had Jordan Spieth, and then I had Tom Hoagie for the back half. None of my guys over the course of that whole Pro-Am, the pros, made a birdie at all. None of them did, which kind of, in my opinion, shows how the tournament could have been. And what we got, actually combined, those guys were 1 over par for 9 holes. And Jordan got to play, in my opinion, the easier part of it. And Tom had to play the more difficult 9. But I scored for that, got a good talk with him about, the golf course. And one thing I'll remember, and it kind of sat with me throughout the whole week, was, this place is really difficult. The greens are fast. They're difficult to read, a lot of nuances. But then he turned his head and said, but if we get rain tomorrow, these guys are going to tear it up. And things from that on just seemed to kind of fall into his prediction of, yeah, it got soft. And Thursday was, those guys could go right at the pin all Thursday. And it made it very easy. It still was wet on Friday. And as it kind of dried out on Saturday, you started to see the course showing its teeth a little bit. But by that time, these guys have gotten in a rhythm of hitting these shots. the course hadn't shown its teeth yet, so they were confident while they were on their tees. You know, second shots, and what really protects Olympia Fields is the greens. It's not anything other than these guys are, you know, pros out of the rough, and the rough needed to be there for sure, but it also needed to be accompanied with dry greens because, as you know, when you're coming out of the rough, you don't know what kind of spin you're going to get. And that's where Olympia Fields kind of finds its teeth is if the greens weren't so receptive, these balls would have rolled out in some very uncomfortable spots, much like it did in 2020. And the scores would have definitely been much lower. I don't think they would have been 2020 type scores. I think I said that on the last show too. I didn't think that, you know, we were going to get a repeat of 2020 where only 4 guys or 3 guys were under par. No, that's not going to happen when there's crowds and it gets trampled down and the lies get easier. That's exactly what happened over the course of the week. But it was fun to walk with those guys and just kind of get an idea of what the course was and then how, you know, they were going to play it. And I thought if it didn't rain and they, after watching my pros, 2 very prominent names on the PGA Tour struggle, I was like, sweet. If this thing doesn't rain, we're going to get some carnage. It's going to be difficult. But then as it rained on Thursday, scores were low. And then on Friday and Saturday, I was a walking score for the rounds. I had Andrew Putnam and Eric Cole for one round, and Sepp Stratka and Patrick Rogers for the Saturday round, which was a lot of fun. It's a job that if you are somebody who's going to volunteer for, you know, any type of PGA event or any local event, you know, Corn Ferry Tour or, you know, some of the lower, I recommend doing it. It's fun. You get to, you know, meet the guys and see the shots from inside the ropes, really kind of follow them and hear some of the caddy conversations. There's a lot of complaining on Saturday about the golf course. I'll say that in terms of setup. A lot of the guys were like talking about the par 5 15th and saying, I'm out here to entertain. Why are we playing it from 620? I can't get to, you know, the green in 2. And my response to that is, well, hit a better tee shot and you can go for the green in 2. So there was a lot of complaints about 6 to 7. Obviously, you know, Jack, that's the par 3, and then you have to go back up the hill to hit your tee shot on 7. A lot of the pros were like, I need a map to get around here if I were a member. Let us just say that as members, we don't play our tee shots back to back. Usually we hit our tee shots on 6 and on 7, then head down to the green on 6, play those shots, and we go straight to our tee shots in the fairway on 7 to kind of pick up pace a little bit. But I get it. I mean, it's a mazy golf course, and it's a reason why I understand why they were maybe a little bit upset. But to that answer, I just say, yeah, it's difficult. And if you don't like a 600-yard par 5, hit a better tee shot. That's just my answer to it.
Yeah, I thought the golf course was set up pretty great. And it is a little mazy, but I also found there weren't really there was one spot where you could get trapped as a fan, where you couldn't really get through for a handful of minutes, right in between right before 6, and there's the par 5 there, the tee shot on 15 and 7 as well. I all want to say that little cluster area, but I was able to maneuver throughout the course pretty well, and that was one thing I really enjoyed, like throughout the week is getting more familiar with the course and figuring out like where I was going to be and how to walk through it. I was absolutely trotting through there with a purpose, trying to see as many shots as I could. I think I gave Tony, as much as he could handle. He was trying to keep up with me on Sunday. I'm like, listen, buddy, I'm watching Victor in a sweat here. Like, I'm absolutely cooking when I'm walking. Like, I don't want to leave you in the dust, but I'm not going to miss a shot here, Victor, when he's in the hunt. But it was so much fun just becoming familiar with the golf course, being so close and finding those spots and. Having all those interactions, it was super cool, man. And I know kind of a weird timed announcement, it felt like, to announce that the BMW Championship was going out east in New Jersey. But I really hope they have another tournament here soon, because it was an absolutely lovely venue. I thought the setup was great. And obviously, as we've seen from the last two tournaments, course has an ability to produce some pretty firework finishes. So excited for the future of Olympia Fields, and hopefully this tournament coming back here rather soon.
I hope so too. I'll say this. I know that if I could buy any stock in terms of, buying companies right now, if I would have known what I had known prior to this week, I would have bought Mountain Dew, all things considered, because Prez of On Tap Sportsnet probably had about 36 of them over the course of the day I was with him on Saturday. It was one hell of a tournament. I'll say I hope we get it again. I think I don't want to, announce news or say that anything's going to happen, but I think there's a good chance that one is not at Olympia Fields for at least a little bit. With the way that the course played, it wouldn't surprise me if they dig into us for a renovation or for some, maintenance on the course. There's been a lot of chatter of that. It's nothing confirmed, but as I sit there and look at what happened over the weekend, I would be surprised if that's something that people start talking about. It is a great venue. It's a very historic golf course. It's, a place that, as Victor even said in his post round, he loves the history here. He loves the membership, the Chicago golf fans too. Like, props to them. They showed out in bucket loads worth for the whole week. And yeah, man, it was hot. It was fun. But I'll say this, like, watching players play this course, and two, like, just to watch what clubs they hit, and not to go too deep into it, but I am so surprised that the 17th hole played as difficult as it did over the course of the week. Because as a member, that's a hole I look forward to prior to 18, because I think it's actually pretty gettable. I think the biggest decision that these guys made was club choice off the tee on that hole, and it plays downwind, and all of them seem to hit driver. And if they hit driver, they were in trouble. They were in that trap on the left, or they were wayward left. And unless you're Rory McIlroy and you can go through a bunker and end up on the back of it and chip it in, I mean, you're not gonna make a birdie on that hole. To me, like, it was so interesting on Saturday. I was standing on 17. Rory McIlroy's on the tee. My dad's right next to me working as a spotter off of that tee. And Rory and his caddy are going back and forth. This is my favorite story over the week. And they're going back and forth. They're talking. And Rory's like, got the hand on the driver, ready to pull it out. And his caddy grabs the driver and Rory's hand and goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Look at this marking. If you're here, you're in the bunker and you're dead. If you don't hit it, you hit 3-wood, you're 10 yards behind here and you can spin in a pitching wedge. What's the difference between you hitting a pitching wedge or hitting a gap wedge to this?" Sure enough, Rory, he hit the 3-wood, and I think he ended up putting it close. I don't think he ended up making a putt, but he had a birdie chance on that hole, opposed to needing to go through a bunker and then chip in. Like, the complete low percentage play. But I think that it was so interesting to listen to them play shots and talk with their caddies. And I have a new outlook on the course in general, just strictly because I think I learned over the course of the week, like, where to hit it. It's kind of funny to think that, it's a place where you got to play driver a lot, but the guys who didn't play driver as much and who were in the fairway were still able to get to pins. And it makes me rethink my strategy. And I'm sure that, over the course of the week, the guys started to learn it. Maybe that's a factor why Victor was able to shoot so low. Maybe he, over the course of the weekend, figured out where to be, where to miss. And then when everything just lines up and you're putting well and you're striking the ball well, and you're hitting the right clubs off the tee, that's what happens. You end up, shooting a 28 and winning the tournament. But I thought, too, it was interesting to see Fitzpatrick jump in there and try to spoil the whole thing, too. And he played really good golf over the course of the 4 days.
Yeah, he was fantastic. And the one thing I have to say about Matthew Fitzpatrick, and this is one thing I noticed throughout the week too, getting to do pressers with him and asking him questions following the round. That guy is, and this might even be generous, 5'9", 5'10", 165 pounds. To think that he won the U.S. Open, which is historically in modern day, I guess I should say, known as the longest test in golf, to think that he won the U.S. Open was just absolutely flabbergasting to me. And his short game is just so spectacular. And he got himself into trouble sometimes throughout the week, but he was able to bail himself out and just didn't make a whole lot of bogeys. He was able to get himself out of messes, and that's really what he does best. So, while it hadn't been the best summer or lead up for Matthew Fitzpatrick, no one really predicted him to do well in this tournament. It wasn't the most surprising thing to see him kind of be able to plot his way and maneuver out there as well. But yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick put a pretty good run together. It looked like it was going to be Max Homa's tournament there for a little bit before he made that triple bogey on number 7, and it felt like it just kind of knocked the wind out of his sails for the remainder of the tournament. He did have a pretty decent Sunday to have a high-end finish, but he was in the mix. Rory was always right there, but never could make a putt from Friday through the rest of the weekend. It felt like he spent most of them on like the front 9 on Thursday. Brian Harmon, the Weasel, I gotta give him a shout out.
The bunker, man.
Oh my gosh, he was chipping in from all over the place throughout the week. Wasn't too surprised to see his luck run out on Sunday, but a lot of guys who have been, good at major championships and good at these difficult type tests, those were the ones who came to show for the BMW championship. So yeah, spectacular. You continue.
We forget that Chris Kirk was leading that tournament at one point too. That's another thing. The course record was shot 3 straight days in a row. I mean, let's not, and by guys who I don't want to, poo-poo, the Burnses or anything like, but let's be honest here. Like if Burns can come in and shoot a 62, I mean, it just shows what the golf course was. Like we going into this week, we thought that it would be those type of, major championship, big name guys. Sure, it ended up being that, but yeah, it just shows what the course ended up being for the week. But like I said, it ended up being a tournament that I absolutely enjoyed. I had a great time. You guys, it was great to see you guys there, and get to meet you, Jack, in person for the first time, and Joe Chats, like you said, and then to walk around a little bit with Ron Luce for a night, and Tony, which was a blast to just be around there. And I think too, like the membership in general showed up in just huge numbers too. Like it was good to see some of my weekend playing partners out there, joking with them back and forth of, hey, you got that shot in your bag when, these guys are hitting it 350 yards down the fairway. Was always fun. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those tournaments that you really didn't know who was going to win it until the very end, which, I think you could ask for every single golf tournament from here on out, right? It's exciting. It was star-studded. It was a great venue for a course. And I hope we get one in the near future, but I think it'll be a couple of years, if not 5 to 6 before we even think about getting something like that. And who knows? Maybe it's something more than a BMW championship. Maybe it's a U.S. Open, or if they do change the schedule again to make it to where the PGA Championship is maybe a little later in the year. That'd be kind of cool. The only problem with Midwestern golf is you can really only have a U.S. Open there in the Midwest because of the scheduling now. Because I mean, you'd have to start setting up stands and things like that in February, and yeah, you just can't be doing that. It just won't be and the courses will be wet and too easy, and it's just the weather just doesn't fit the schedule for Midwest golf. I think that's another topic for you guys to bring up on this show over the course of the off season when you guys are doing shows. Like, I love the schedule. I love that all the majors are early on in the year. But I mean, it does limit where these guys can go to play tournaments. And there's some great places to play golf, not just in Illinois, but in Michigan and, Wisconsin and Minnesota and Indiana. There's some great places to play, but unfortunately, you can't play any of them for a PGA event that means anything because you're stuck in the middle of winter until, April sometimes with what it seems. So,
right.
But yeah, it was a great, great tournament. I'm happy you guys, were able to get me on. Thanks for, inviting me and having me for, course correspondent. And I just want to kudos to you guys. You guys killed it this week. I talked to plenty of members, and I said this in our Slack chat, in our little group message, that, On Tap was definitely heard and seen over the course of these last couple of weeks. And I even had, our Olympia Fields, one of the directors, come up and say, "Hey, are these your guys?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're out here. They've got media credentialed." They said they're doing such a great job out here. Everybody who's read their stuff has loved the coverage, loved the food reviews, the funny ones from Ron that were fun. We were well received, and just great job. And thanks for coming and enjoying my club. It was nice to share it with everybody, the fans, and pretty much the closest people here at On Tap enjoyed it too. And Jack, promise you, and Joey, if we can ever get your game in just a normal spot, you can come out and play. We'll get you out on that North Course so you can play some of the shots that these guys did over the course of the week.
Well, I would absolutely love nothing more than that, and it's absolutely great to hear that everything was very well received. And before we move on to the Tour Championship, Kyle, thank you again for your part, for having us out to your club, and for whatever is next for Olympia Fields, and whenever a tournament is back here, we're going to be looking forward to it for sure, because it was absolutely spectacular. So thank you again, Kyle, for everything, man. It was unbelievable.
No, thank you guys, and I'll keep listening. If you guys ever need another golf guy on here to talk a little bit about whatever, you let me know.
Absolutely. You might have to start emptying those pockets a little more and become members at some more PGA Tour venues.
If I hit the lottery, you guys will be the first to see me do that, and we'll have plenty of weekend rounds, my friends. But enjoy your preview. Just to drop it in here real quick, hoping that Rory still wins the whole PGA Championship here. That would be great for me.
Hey, it was still a good call. It was still a good call this past week too. I mean, if you make some of those putts like that, you're talking about a guy potentially winning that tournament this past weekend too. So Rory, over the course of the last 10 years, he's been always the bridesmaid, never the bride. So hopefully that doesn't continue. I'd love to see him win more tournaments in the future.
I'm sure that will happen. Kyle, thank you again for everything. Joe, you ready to move on to Tour Championship?
I'm ready. Thank you, Kyle. That's freaking awesome. Great course breakdown. Your stories about what's happened this past weekend and just everything you've provided to this show, and just being there at the, a club member. You're not getting this insight anywhere else. And I said that on the previous show. So absolutely awesome stuff, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
You as well, brother.
Have a good night, Kyle. So, yeah, I mean, I guess we're ready to kind of dive in, though, to the Tour Championship, which we're going to be talking some odds here. Jack, 19-1 at a tournament that you're at. 19-1 at a tournament that you're at. Let's talk about that for a second. I know you talked about it, but just quickly, I've never hit an outright where I was at the event. So how the hell does that feel?
Yeah, dude, it was spectacular. It felt like it was my week, man. I don't know what it was. I was literally on cloud 9 all week. I walked 40 miles in 5 days to see as much golf as I could. I mean, I wanted to soak it all in. Didn't care that the dogs were barking. I told them that they had to push through because there were so many shots that I wanted to see. And following Victor Friday and Saturday throughout his rounds was spectacular. He still gave me some hope going into Sunday. And yeah, to see what he did, it was super cool. There is one story that I wanted to share, and she actually got referenced on the broadcast by Colton Oast, which was super cool. But obviously she was a diehard Victor fan. She had a pink hat on that said "Victory Awaits," and it was spelled victory with a K.
Sweet.
And I saw her on Thursday a ton because she was following Victor. So was I. I saw her on Friday a ton. We were both following Victor again. Or Friday and Saturday, we saw each other a ton. And then I didn't see her as much on Sunday. I didn't really see her because the crowds were just so big. There was way more fans there than there were for any other day. And I was up the right side of the 18th fairway as I was kind of talking. It was my little sweet spot where I could watch on the TV, see some shots, and get tweets out all at the same time. Victor's just making this unbelievable run on the back nine. I'm texting everyone I know, like, what is happening? Victor is going absolutely unconscious right now. And Victor birdie 17, a huge putt there, puts it in the fairway on 18. And at that time was, I want to say up by 1, because that was before Scheffler missed his par putt on 17 that kind of put the nail in the coffin. But Victor hit his drive onto 18, and I was up the right side of the fairway. So I was like walking towards it to get a better view. And I looked to my left, and she's walking down the fairway, and we hadn't seen each other all day. And just that moment that we had with each other, we were like, let's fucking go. Like, we had been watching Victor both all week long, like hoping that he could just get in the situation to be in the hunt on Sunday. And there he was on top of the leaderboard on the 18th fairway, and we both ran into each other. It was a super cool moment. But she also got a shout out from Colton Ost. I think when Victor was on 5, he said, there's this girl with a pink Victor hat on that's been following him around. So yeah, just so many super cool moments, man. I mean, getting to ask Victor questions after his win, or hearing him answer questions, getting to ask Max Homa questions, Brian Harmon, Matt Fitzpatrick, the glove, baby. I got to ask the glove some questions. My welcome to the PGA media moment, Joey, by the way. I don't know if I shared this with you, but got there on Thursday around 9:30. Everything opened a little late because of weather on Monday night. It had rained. And I walked into the media center. I get my credential pass, and I'm like getting set up. We find our spot at the desk. And I'm not kidding. Within probably 3 or 4 minutes, I turn to my right, and there's John Rahm, like right there. And he is big, dude. Like, not like tall, but he is like, I kept telling people, like, the definition of husky. Like, dude, you would not want to see that man in like the alley next to the bar. I mean, he's going to absolutely hip toss you into an oblivion. But I was like, oh my God, that's John Rahm right there. And getting to ask him a question, like it all happened so fast. And I was like, wow, just getting thrown into the fire. But yeah, it was unbelievable. Olympia Fields took care of us. It was awesome. Got, breakfast and lunch from the country club, coffee and drinks, and just getting all those opportunities to be involved in media scrums and everything was super dope, man. A dream come true, honestly. And hopefully just the first of many, because just getting that little taste, I mean, it makes me want more. And I don't really want to be in Atlanta this week because, I mean, I'm not particularly in love with this tournament, and I would not want to sweat my rear end off with the temperatures being what they're expected to be. But I definitely, man, would love to be able to cover as many PGA Tour events as I could. I'd gladly be walking 30 to 40 miles every week if it meant, someone out here is going to put together some good PGA Tour coverage. Just saying, I mean, I'll walk the holes and I'll put out stuff. I mean, some people don't. I will. So just putting that out there. But yeah, dude, just to kind of cap things off, we got to move on to the Tour Championship. Dream come true. I was on cloud 9 on Sunday. Like I don't know if you've seen the Johnny Manziel documentary, but
not yet.
You haven't seen it yet, but one of my favorite lines from it is they were talking to him about beating Alabama, and he said, "What'd that feel like?" And they asked him, "What did it feel like?" And he said, "Felt great. I walked off the field like a fucking G." And that's how it felt like for me living Olympia Fields. Like, after having the week of my life, hitting Victor, I told everyone I was on Victor throughout the week, and for him to get the job done, yeah, I mean, I had goosebumps leaving Olympia Fields. An absolute dream week, brother.
That's how you cap off a season. Like,
yes, sir.
I know technically this is the end of the season this week with the Tour Championship, but it doesn't get any better than that, Jack. Like that, I am so happy for you guys and for you that we've been doing this show all season long, and for you to cap it off that way, following a guy that you've been riding all season long in Victor Hovland, and then calling your shot, seeing it in person, covering these guys, getting answers that you want to questions that you want to ask. It's just awesome stuff. Like you can't write a better script than that. I think it's beautiful. I think you got Christmas early here.
I did.
In August. So, of course, that's why you got maybe a lump of coal when you got home. But, yeah, stuff happens. But, yeah, man, talking about we should probably move on just a little bit here about the Tour Championship. I feel like, and you said you don't really like this tournament. It's going to be, it's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, as you mentioned, East Lake Golf Club. Is it the handicap? Is that for me? I'm not a big fan of the handicap that's here. I understand why they do it. You want like a better version of a Tour champion. Like you want it to be kind of meaningful as far as that goes, and you're doing the elimination process. Now they're down to the top 30 golfers in the FedEx Cup standings. But I would prefer, I think, just a normal tournament here for the Tour Championship. And maybe I'm alone in that thought. I don't know. I don't know what the popular opinion on that is. I haven't really looked into that, but what are your thoughts here about that, and why don't you like this tournament?
Yeah, it's the one thing I will say that I do like about it, and that I do think is done really well, is that the PGA Tour makes it so that only a handful of guys really can win the FedEx Cup. And I think that's important, because having it be its own tournament, you can have someone from the bottom end up winning. And they did it in the past before they had these handicaps, where there was still a total points list, but ultimately, like, Xander won in 2020, but he didn't win the FedEx Cup. It just kind of made for a weird dynamic on the 72nd hole, like he won the tournament, but didn't win the FedEx Cup. Like, I do agree that at this point of the season, like, if you're not in the top 10, like, you probably shouldn't have a chance to actually win the Tour Championship. And they do a good job of that. But I still think the starting strokes, it's something you don't do in any other tournament throughout the course of the year. And this is supposed to be your championship, and you're supposed to be pushing this as they do push it as the most meaningful trophy in golf. And it's like, no, like, I don't know. I think
the Masters is still that to me. I don't know. But
any of the majors, these guys would take majors over the FedEx Cup any day of the week.
100.
I don't want to talk down about it, but no one is saying Rory's a 3-time FedEx Cup winner. It's a 4-time major winner. We're talking about majors. So I do concur that there should only be a handful of guys that can win, but I personally think there needs to be some sort of match play involved in this. Like, I think there should be a final 16 match play where you're just going one-on-one. And I know they've gotten rid of the match play for next year's schedule. Match play is important in every step of golf until you reach the PGA Tour. It's really weird. The USAMs were just this week. Nick Shipley, by the way, put together a spectacular performance there to win the USAM. That's match play. The Ryder Cup, match play. The President's Cup, match play. In college, the NCAA tournaments, match play. I think they have to implement some sort of match play here, but I'm not going to go on it too much, because I've said it last year before we did this show. I don't think it's the worst, but I also don't think it's the best. And I just don't think it's the proper way for a championship and for a season to be concluded. So I'm a little bit torn. Also, obviously, like, as someone who likes betting on it, it's pretty tough to bet this week with the odds being a little bit smashed down. But I do still think there are a couple of decent numbers out there, and I'm still going to be tuning in. I know. It's not going to have it's not the most lusterful trophy out there like they present it to be, but I'll still be tuning in. I do still think there are some good numbers, and it's the last tournament where we're going to have, a stacked field until the Century Tournament of Champions to open up 2024. So one last hoorah here at East Lake. I do like this course. I think it's a good one. But yeah, kind of my thoughts on the tournament. That's just kind of how I feel. We'll see if they make any changes in the future.
And I get that totally. Like, I understand the why they hype it up as such a big deal, because it is the last hoorah.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's their Tour Championship. They have to gas it up. But I just, you don't see this style of golf anywhere else in golf. You never see anyone start at -10.
No, and you make a good point too. Like, maybe match play should be kind of more thought of here. Maybe they should kind of implement that to this tournament, because I do believe that, like, from a better standpoint, I'm not huge on the whole match play, like those style of tournaments. Like, a lot of times I can't find an angle, right? And that's some of the things that we talk about a lot on the show is where can you find your angle to make it profitable. But from just a pure golf standpoint, like I think it's more challenging. It's more fun that way. I think it's maybe more of a true testament to who's better, like in that tournament, and especially when you have things on the line here, like a tour championship. So, the whole starting strokes off at like 10 under here, which will be what I think Scotty Scheffler will be starting at here. And Vic, thanks to his great performance, starting with 8 strokes under. So there's not too many guys that can actually walk away with the dub after this week, because like realistically, what would somebody that's ranked, I'm just going to go down the board here, pull out a random 15th, ranked 15th in this tournament, like what are their odds? I don't know without looking, but I would say not likely, right? So I don't know what they're starting at from a stroke standpoint. I'm sure we can go ahead and just look at all that, but without looking, I know it's going to be extremely difficult for a lot of these guys to maybe they don't even have a shot outside of the top, 7 guys maybe realistically that could win this. So yeah, with that said, I mean, maybe there's some changes they can talk about, but East Lake Golf Club, I guess we should talk about the course. Bermuda grass greens, Bermuda rough, established in 1928. What are kind of your thoughts here about the par 70? I'm seeing ranging numbers from the yardage standpoint. 7,346 I saw, and then I saw another number elsewhere. So I don't know, maybe you can go into a little detail on the course, Jack, because you are normally our course breakdown guy. And, we were thankful, and obviously we had Kyle breaking down Olympia Fields because he knows that course like the back of his hand. So that was awesome. But Jack, this week I'm going to lean on you. What do we know a little bit here about East Lake Golf Club?
Yeah, East Lake has been the site of the Tour Championship for quite a while now. You referenced it's a par 70. I believe it's 7,346 yards. That's what I saw. It's a pretty long course, long and narrow, really tight fairways, just kind of like we saw at Olympia Fields last week with pretty penalizing rough. That's kind of the big defense. It's another Parkland style tree line fairways where if you're not playing from them, it's just going to be really tough to score because the course is pretty long. There's 12 par 4s, 9 of them are over 440 yards. 3 of the 4 par 3s are over 210 yards. So you're going to have to be hitting mid to long irons pretty well this week, and you're going to have to be playing from the fairway to score. This has kind of been a course that's been a little bit volatile. Like you see some water, there's water on 4 holes, and you'll see guys shoot 75, 76, 77. And then you can also see guys shoot 62, 63, 64. Like if you're playing from the fairway and hitting your mid to long irons pretty good, you're going to give yourself some pretty strong opportunities. 2 par 5s here, both play is the easiest. But I do ultimately think, like you kind of said, with there being 30 guys in this field and only a handful of them really have the opportunity to win, it's not really like much of a player profile week. It's just kind of like thinking which one of the top guys you sort of like the best. But I think you're going to be looking for someone who's a complete driver, which is why we've seen Xander Schauffele have a lot of success here, good and accurate. When Rory's right, he has that driver long and accurate. It's a really driver-heavy course because of its length. So I think complete driving is going to be a pretty important factor. And then obviously strokes gain approach is going to be important too. There's not much danger around the greens here. Not really that tricky to get up and down. And the putting surfaces themselves as well are pretty easy to read. So that's kind of everything that I got about East Lake. But I do think ultimately, I mean, the best players in the world that have these advantages, strokes wise, heading into this tournament, all are the best drivers in the world anyway. So those are probably the ones that I'd be expecting to be in contention this week. But before we talk about the odds, I will run through the starting strokes for those of you out there who may not quite remember. Scotty Scheffler, number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings. He'll start at 10 under. Victor Hovland, number 2 at 8. Then you have Rory at 7. John Rahm's at 6, Lucas Glover's at 5, and then Homa, Cantlay, Harmon, Clark, and Fitzpatrick at 4, Fleetwood, Henley, Bradley, Fowler, Schauffele at 3, And then honestly, anyone under 3. I even think there's only 1 or 2 guys in that -4 to -3 that have a chance. Anyone under -3 to me has no chance whatsoever.
That's fair. That's totally fair. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think this is a course where, or just it's not somewhere where these guys that are at the top are going to completely bomb out.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, right? Like maybe 1 or 2.
Right.
You're not going to get all of them to kind of bomb
No.
out and be able to catch those with the strokes advantage. So, I mean, looking at the past winners here, I mean, you know, you mentioned Rory. He's got, 3 wins here. He's been absolutely dominant. And the last couple times since they introduced this with the handicap since 2019, he started at 4 under in 2019 and he won.
Last year too.
5 under last year he started at and won. And then other than that, though, 2021 and 2020, you had Cantlay, who started at 10 under in 2021. And then 2020, DJ, Dustin Johnson started at 10 under. So it's got to be somebody who's elite, in my opinion, going to win, who's starting with a score kind of like a -4, a -5, even that type of range, where only that player can really have a chance to kind of catch up and do some damage. So speaking of that, what are some guys there that you said there might be only a couple in that -4 range, maybe -5 range? Who would those guys be? Because I'm pretty interested in what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I think there's 6 or 7 total guys that can win this thing. I think, or yeah, seven is probably what I think. The first 5: Scheffler, Victor, Rory, Rahm, Glover. I think all those guys can win. I think Patrick Cantlay has the superstar power to do it from 4. And I think Brian Harman, surprisingly, I think I think Brian Harman could do it as well with some sturdy golf. People would probably say Max Homa. I quite honestly don't see it. Xander Schauffele obviously has great course history, but starting at -3, he has the superstar power to do it, but I just haven't seen it from him all year long. I'd be absolutely.
That's the one outside odds though that I think I could see from like a -3. But dude, he's 28 to 1.
Terrible odds. And like, dude, quite honestly, Xander would have to have his best week of the year this week. And he showed some signs last week, but every time he got himself into the mix, he made a real bad bogey or a real bad double to put himself right out of it. I would just be so stunned if Xander Schauffele put together his best performance of the season this week. Now, I know he has great course history here, and I'm not saying he can't do it. I would just be absolutely shocked because I haven't seen enough from him all year long or leading up to this tournament for him to get it done. So I really think anyone below 4 doesn't have a chance in my mind, and I think Harman and Cantlay are the 2 that can.
My God, what a difference a month and a half or 2 months makes for the Weasel.
Man, he puts the lights out, plays from the fairway, doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. Like I could see him putting together 4, maybe not having the ceiling rounds, but I could see him putting together 4 67s and being in the hunt. That's
could you imagine though? Could you imagine saying that just a couple months ago?
No, not for him to actually have the winning upside, but I could see him competing. Like he's always been a competitor.
But he's a top 10 guy. He's always been just that top 10 guy.
Yeah, I don't know. He's
winning.
He's been playing the rock. He was. I mean, dude, he was 1 stroke off the lead going into Sunday. Just didn't have it on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Harman's a tough one. I mean, I could see him truly competing. I don't think he's at that level of a Rory comeback and win type of golfer here. So I kind of have to stick to the top. I know I want to go long. If there is one guy that Fitzpatrick is kind of crafty.
He is.
Like, Fitzpatrick, do I think he'll be low enough though to make that comeback? No. But I also don't think that I'd rule out Lucas Glover either. What's Glover starting at? Is it 6?
He's starting at 5.
5 under?
I bet him.
You did bet him, okay.
50 to 1. I thought that number was insane.
I'm seeing 45, but 50 to 1 is terrific. Like 45, I think is good.
I think that 50 is still out there with Bet Rivers enhanced, and there might even be a 55 on points bet possibly. I thought those were crazy odds. Look, I haven't said this yet on the show. I've said it to a couple of buddies. I do ultimately think it's Scotty, Victor, Rory, and Rahm.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to give me 50-1 odds for Lucas Glover? What?
When you just paid
Xander Schauffele's 25-28, Max Homa's 25-28.
Well, let's not get it twisted too. You got a little money to burn after your big win last week, so you can definitely afford to take a shot at 50-1.
Yeah, for sure. No, I
definitely do
it. For me, for my card, I have the Glover bet in, and then the rest of my money's going on one of two guys. It's either going to be Victor at 5-1, or it's going to be Rahm at 8.5. I think those are. I'll say this too. I do think Scotty Scheffler wins. I really do. I mean, you're going to give this guy -10? Come on. It's pretty tough to ask someone to go and chase down Scotty, but we saw it happen last year as well. I do think Scotty ultimately wins. I can't bet him at +135, man. Just can't do it. I'm not going to sweat 4 days of a golf tournament for a +135 winner, especially after winning back-to-back weeks. No, not doing it. And I've been passing up the top. I've been passing up the top these last 2 weeks. We hit Glove at 125-1. We hit Vic at 19-1. I'm going to pass on Scotty.
I think I like Vic 5-1.
Yeah, I'm torn. Victor is in much better form, but I mean, 8.5 to Rahm is what you get that number at majors.
Yeah.
He's playing with 30 guys. I don't know. No, I definitely lean Victor over Rahm, but you're almost getting double. You're almost getting double Victor's odds with Rahm.
That's true. Something seems a little off with Rahm still.
Yeah,
to
for
me.
Sure. Last week was not encouraging.
No, not at all. When I thought that Rahm would totally be in the mix last week.
And he was also a terrible driver of the ball at the St. Jude for a couple of days, and that's his bread and butter. I think he had the worst driving round of his career, I believe, at St. Jude.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell there's some frustration right now going on with his I wouldn't say he's handling it poorly. You could just tell he's frustrated out there. Just from what it looks like on TV anyways. Obviously, you got more of a really good look at it this past weekend, but you can kind of tell, and that's obvious. That happens with every golfer. When you make a bad shot, there's frustration there, right? But from a guy and he can always turn it around at any given moment, so it's not to say that he's not going to win this. He obviously can. I just think I'm kind of between the two of want to take the value of a guy that's only 2 strokes back to start the tournament in Victor, and in good form, like you said, especially after what we saw this past week. I mean, my God, dude, that final, we've already talked about it enough, but that back 9, it felt like every shot that he made was to the pin, was right there. He didn't even have to sweat on a lot of these putts.
Dude, his back 9 stats were absurd. I saw it was hit 6 of 7 fairways, hit all 9 greens, had 6 birdie looks within 9 feet, gained 3.5 strokes on approach on the back 9, gained 6.5 strokes total, and made 8 threes.
Unreal.
Dude, I still can't believe it happened.
Did we talk about this on the show, or was it off air about that possibly being one of the best back 9s in golf history? Because I think it should be up there.
28, dude. Oh, ridiculous, man.
Not to spend too much time on Vic, but that he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it.
Is that where you're going this week, you think?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go there, and I think I might take the shot with Glover as well. I'm not going to go crazy this week. It's the final week, and I'd rather just kind of save up some money for football season, if I'm being honest, and just not, being kind of true to myself as I do feel like I can handicap football pretty well too. So why not just kind of put a little in the bank and start playing the futures game to kind of tease out another show of ours on Tap Bets. Me and Beat On will be having some episodes coming out here. I believe Thursday we're going to do some at least recording. If we're not going live, we're going to be putting out some multiple stuff. But we got college football starting this Saturday. There's a lot that I want to be able to bet on, so I don't feel like I want to go super crazy on a week that it does feel like there's very few options that can win. And, I've had fun enjoying this ride this season. I think this has been one of my best seasons from a betting standpoint for golf. And we have hit multiple outrights. I mean, I know last week was huge. You've won now back to back. We both took down the tournament before. So, like, we are riding high. Do you know offhand how many we've hit this season?
I don't know how many we've hit total. I have hit 9 total.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been solid, dude, and it's been in runs too. It was the fall where I hit 3 and 5, I think, in the fall. And then since the PGA Championship, I've had 4 real big wins in the last 3 months. Brooks at the PGA, Ricky at Rocket Mortgage, the Glove at Wyndham, and then Victor last week. The playoffs, dude, have been so kind to me, actually. Like, thinking back on it, so I've won both playoff events so far this year. Last year I had Rory at the Tour Championship, which isn't too much to flex. He was plus 1,000. But we both hit Willie Z at the St. Jude. And then the year before that, I hit Cantlay at the Tour Championship and Cantlay at the BMW. So, dude, I've just been racking up. I think I'm like, no joke, like 6 of 8 or something betting on playoff events. Like, it has been actually an absurd run. So, yeah, it's super nice to end the season.
You're probably like 3,500 in the green for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, the playoffs have won me some serious dough these last couple of years. So it's been awesome. And hopefully, can finish off with one last strong one here, because football season, like you said, is right around the corner. We only have 6 more golf events that'll be on in the fall, and they probably all won't have very good fields, but still opportunities to bet on regardless. But yeah, it's been a fantastic season. Hopefully we can end it on a high note. But yeah, for me this week, it's either going to be, I'm leaning Victor right now. But it's going to be one of Victor or Rahm Glover. And that's probably going to be it for my card. Probably it.
Well, I love to see us pretty much on the same page, but and I do look forward to the fall swing, not going to lie, because I do feel like, well, last year, obviously this last fall, you were dominant during the fall. I was not quite there in the fall, and just kind of, as we went going, then it kind of flipped. Then you were like going through that stretch where you weren't hitting an outright, and then I was hitting a lot of outrights, and then we both kind of started to come into form at the same time, which was weird. But that just kind of was our season. One and done. I know we're not going to go like long all the way through the board this week. It's just not the week for that with 30 golfers in the field. One and done, Jack. Where are we at with that? I had Morikawa last week. You had Justin Rose, who threw out the first pitch at Wrigley.
Yeah.
Pretty damn cool. Love that.
Yeah, it was actually super cool. I was following Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood like for most of their practice round on Tuesday. Both super good dudes, by the way. Like, out of anyone besides Rory, I would say Tommy Fleetwood is the most gracious dude that I've seen. I mean, smiles, going up to kids, like, super, super involved in giving out love. That was super cool. The one picture, I snapped a couple pictures throughout the week. I had to fanboy for like a small moment. I took a picture with Keegs.
All right.
Took a picture with Keegs. Keegan's a big boy, dog.
He doesn't look it at all on TV too. That's crazy.
Big. He's like long and gangly now that he's skinny. He was a little bit fiery too. Like, he seemed like he was a little upset throughout the week. And then I took a picture with Justin Rose on 17. He was a super good guy too. And then I see on Twitter, like 2 hours later, he's throwing out the first pitch. I'm like, man, they wheeled him to Wrigley super fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was super cool. Yeah, just where were we going with this with Justin Rose?
Yeah, well, you kind of led me down a different direction though. Like,
talk about right.
Well, yeah, but do you want to talk real quick about how awesome Rory is? Like, we kind of did it, but like you said, I think you might have tweeted it out that there were kids that were just chanting for Rory to come over there.
Gosh, yeah. Let me tell this.
Yeah.
Story. It was following Thursday's round where Rory was tied with Brian Harmon for the lead at 5 under. Was one of the last guys out there on the range, and throughout his practice round, like they're kids, so they don't know any better, but he's taking swings and they're screaming at him throughout his practice session. Rory, come over. And finally, after his practice session, he walked over there, and the eruption was incredible. I mean, the amount of love out there for Rory McIlroy is truly on another level, and he was so awesome. I mean, probably signed autographs for 30 to 45 minutes. Not one kid that was in that line didn't go home without a Rory McIlroy autograph. So it was super cool to see him. Even though he's obviously right in the midst of a very big tournament for him, still taking the time to do that kind of stuff. And just being a super good guy throughout the entire time, man. Really good dude and a really good leader for the PGA Tour to have. But it's absurd to see the amount of love that he gets. Like, obviously, Scotty's a superstar, and a lot of people like Scotty Scheffler. Not even close. Not even close. It's not even close. Rory McIlroy gets the people going, and they come to see him. I would say 50 to 60% of the people there are there to see Rory McIlroy. It's wild.
What's the live bounce like?
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. He's got a walk. Rahm has a little bit of a walk to him too. But yeah, seeing those guys kind of like in their own presence and their own element is really special. Being super close to Rory and watching him hit shots was pretty cool too. He's not a very big guy, which is pretty amazing for how far he hits the driver. Not a big guy at all, but he was super cool.
Crazy, man. Crazy. This is like an all-time weekend from what it sounds like that you had and everybody was.
It gosh darn was.
But yeah, we should probably get back to one and done because we could do that. And all right, wait a second. One more thing. One more derailment. We found out the real reason why you love Victor Hovland and why you were following Victor Hovland all weekend is because all the ladies were following Victor Hovland.
No, I was there before the women. I don't even want the women. I just want Victor. I'm not there for the women, man. I just want
no.
I'm a simple man. I'm gonna be trotting, and I'm not gonna miss a shot.
I had to give you some crap on that, but
no, that's great.
I had no idea that the women were that into Victor Hovland.
They love them some Victor.
All right, so it's not only Russell Henley that the models love.
No,
Victor Hovland too.
That reminds me, I did snap a photo of Hollywood Henley. I got a couple good images of your boys throughout the week.
Sweet.
Henley was there. I got one of Hoagie and Chris Kirk together. I'm trying to think who else I got for you. But there were a couple times where I saw a guy walk by and I'm like, I got to take a picture for Joey, which was super funny.
Dude, I need those pictures. Yeah,
I'll get them to you for sure.
I wish Aaron Rye was there too, because then that would have been like the ultimate too. He had him and all of them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think he just missed out. And unfortunately for one and done, it's looking like you basically got it secured. You're up. The situation is I need to win and your guy needs to come in last and we tie.
Oh, that's not happening.
I know. That's
a shame, dude. Wait, how did this even happen? I'll take the win. Don't get me wrong.
Dude, my one and done after it started to go downhill when I had Rory at the Masters. I was still in a good spot for most of the summer, but that's what really gave you some life because Rory missed the cut at the Masters and we did double. Yeah. And that was the one major he played bad at. Yeah, I was cruising, but my late season was so garbage. Let me get some of these results here.
But it was only your one and done because your betting picks were actually really good for the most part.
My one and done went to absolute shit. Eric Cole, 42nd at the John Deere. Fitzpatrick missed the cut at the Scottish. Brooks was 64th at the Open. Aberg was 63rd at the 3M. Fucking Denny, who I'm literally never going to bet ever again, even though I was seeing him in person too. Like, he's like my size. And I'm like, God damn, I don't know how you're competing out here with these guys. Still, fuck you, Denny. Never betting him again. He missed the cut for me at Wyndham, which was basically the nail in the coffin, was Denny missing the cut at Wyndham.
You won't even eat it at Denny's late night if you're drunk now.
No, I'm out. I did beat you at St. Jude. I did beat you at the BMW. The damage had already been done at that point. You put together a really good run, especially in major championships. Let me get your major results here real quick. If I can find everything. The Masters, you had John Rahm, who won, so that was excellent. The PGA, you had, I remember this one specifically, you had Cameron Smith, who was like T40 and then fired like a 64 on Sunday and finished 9th. U.S. Open, you had Scotty Scheffler, who finished 3rd. And then at the Open, you had Rory, who finished 6th. So you had 4 top 10s in majors this year. And those were all worth double. So for me, who lost. So you killed it in the majors this year, man. That was, As we say, majors are the ultimate test. So you got
Hey, man, 3 outrights, too.
I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet.
All right, who am I picking this week that's getting last, though? That's the question.
Yeah, that's what I need. Who are you taking this week? And it's going to be interesting to see who we have left. I know what 2 guys I'm in between.
I feel like this is the part where you lie to me and tell me I've picked everybody that's within the top 10 of the odds board already.
All right.
Because you know I don't have this list in front of me.
Here's how it's going to go. I'll give you this is so terrible of me. There's no way I should allow for this to happen. There's no way I can. My idea was I was going to let you give 2 names, and if both of them aren't on the list, your third guy is just who you're with.
No, this is ridiculous because you know I have like amnesia, dude. I'm not going to remember.
All right, who do you want to use? And I'll let you know if you've used them or not.
All right. Almost positive I've used Rory.
Yeah, you used Rory at the Open.
Okay. And you just said that too. I know I've used Scheffler. I know I've used Rahm. I know I've used Xander.
I don't know if you've used Xander.
Really? I didn't use the X-Man? That week where I was singing? No, you probably used him that week.
I used him at the U.S. Open. That was when X was going to give it to you, and he fucking didn't. I'm pretty sure you have. Yeah, no, you have Xander.
I don't have Hovland. I know that.
Dude, you might. No, you don't have Hovland. Where did you use him? You used Victor at the Chuck Schwab, and he came 16th.
Yeah. I mean, it's either Xander's been great here. If I have the X-Man, I'm going with the X-Man all day.
You're taking Xander?
Yeah, all day. I feel good about that. He's not last.
Guess who I'm taking?
You have somebody at the top.
I'm taking the glove.
Oh, let's go. You didn't use the glove one week? I thought you did.
When would I have used the glove? You thought I was going to use the glove in my one and done at the St. Jude?
Do you know how stupid I am for not doing that?
Yeah, me too. I had Colin Morikawa who came 13th. If I used the glove, he would have won. But no way I was going to use Lucas Glover in a playoff of playoffs.
I told you, though, my first choice was the glove. And then I was like, you're going to go with the glove? And you were all shocked.
You went with Burns.
Yeah, which, I mean,
well,
I can't complain. But, all right, I like the glove pick this week. I do.
Well, Xander's obviously a good pick. Really good history. Probably the best history at this course. But I need someone to win, and I bet Lucas Glover. So let's see how fucking bananas would it be if Lucas Glover wins the FedEx Cup, dog?
That's crazy as I can see it happening with how well he's playing, though. Yeah.
He could do it. That would be
that broomstick, baby. That broomstick's on fire. His approach numbers. He's second over the past 24 rounds in approach, I think.
Dude, no.
Strokes gained.
Dude, and I don't know if they didn't show. Well, they did show a lot of him on Thursday and Friday because he was playing with Rory, and that's the one thing I learned too. They just milk Rory and Scotty and Rahm, and it's just so annoying.
Of course.
Just show other people. It'd be really cool. But Glover's approach was great. He went cold with the putts. And that's going to happen from time to time. I do worry a little bit that he's like exhausted, right? Like 4 weeks in a row, like hot weather too. Like I do.
Can't still haven't drive from Memphis.
But 50-1 odds is still great. He's an accurate driver of the ball when he's at his best, and his approach has been great like all summer. That's been the best part of his game. And if he putts like he has a good week, he has a chance. So yeah. I'm going to go with the glove. Let's see if he can lead me to destiny, and let's see if he can steal the FedEx Cup. How funny would that be? Would Lucas Glover be player of the year? Probably not, but like he doesn't have a major win, and he didn't play in a major this year, but that would be the craziest thing about it. Lucas Glover didn't play in a major this year, and he could be on, if he wins this week, he's for sure on the Ryder Cup team, and he'd obviously be the FedEx champion.
I would put him on the Ryder Cup team no matter what anyways.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
That's a conversation for a whole nother show. And we're going to have to do one on that before that comes out next Tuesday. Those final 6 picks, we definitely should do that. But someone deserving is going to get left off that United States team. And
your boy,
it might be Keegan.
I know. That'll be a full conversation, but let's do something interesting. All right. So you got Lucas, Gary Payton, Glover for one and done, but let's do something interesting. I want to let you back into it now.
You already let me back into it, though, by going double.
last week.
You want to go times 2.5?
No. So, all right. So
you shouldn't give me too much because we've gone double.
Okay, but I don't think Xander is going to finish outside the top 15 this week. So if Xander, this would just be my proposal. Like we can work out the actual math equation off air. Xander finishes 16th or worse, let's say, this week. If he finishes 16th or worse, I don't know if I want to do double, but Lucas Glover has to finish top 5. If Glover finishes top 5 and Xander finishes 16th or worse, I'm going to say you took one and done this year.
I think that's generous, and I don't want to give myself too much life because I did blow it. I'm going to come to a conclusion here. If Xander Schauffele finishes outside of the top 15 and Lucas Glover finishes first or second, I win.
Okay.
I think that's actually fair.
T2. We'll say 3.
2. He has to finish first or second. It could be T2. It could be T2.
All right, that's fair. Because the other way, it just seems pretty impossible for a 1 in a 30.
Yeah, but I did put myself in that spot, man. I did.
It's all right though. I mean, like, dude, you have more outrights than me this year. I don't know how many more, but I know you finished with more based on this last week for sure. I think you have like 2 more than me, 3 more than me.
It's probably close though.
It's not far off, but yeah, I mean, like really, if you would have chosen your winners on each of your one and dones, like you'd be right there. So that's just kind of the way.
One thing I do want to bring up before we wrap it up. We talked about the fall series earlier. I forgot I wanted to bring this point up. Man of my word. I'm hopefully, knock on wood, I'm trying to get credentialed for the Shriners Children's Open in Las Vegas. I will be in Las Vegas that week visiting a buddy. And I said, if Tom Kim wins, last year on the show, I said, if Tom Kim wins, I'd like to go to this tournament next year. Tom Kim ended up winning. So I'm doing my best. I've already brought it up to Mr. Marchese to see if we could make that possible. Even if I don't get credentialed, I'm still going to go for at least a day or two, but could be hopefully the next tournament that I'll be covering here for the On Tap Sports Network. Keep my fingers crossed.
Would be pretty sick. I know we talked about making that trip together too, so I have to talk to Tony about that.
See what happens.
Just see, just see. If I got to buy my ticket, that's fine. But
little business trip.
It's just business. That's all it is. We're not going to be hitting the casinos or anything. So with that said, though, yeah, we should probably get out of here. It's over an hour. This has been a great show. Recapping the BMW Championship at Olympia Fields Country Club. Boots on the ground all weekend long. You guys, obviously, from the sounds of it, the looks of it, had an awesome time there. It was just great to see all the content coming out. Go to OnTap Sportsnet. Check out all the golf articles that were produced by Jack, by Joe, by Ron, by Tony, just everybody else that contributed to that on that front. Go check out all the Chicago sports content over there. There's a lot of Cubs stuff going on at the moment because they're in the thick of a playoff chase. I think if the season were to end right now, they'd be in the playoffs, and I'm pretty sure they lost tonight. Didn't catch the final. I think it was 7-6 as we were on here. But nonetheless, Cubs on tap for that. They might be live right now for all I know. But, Jack, yeah, this has been a great season. Not only just, a great show, but a great season doing this with you. And I just look forward to all the next episodes that we're going to produce together. And the fall swing, we're going to talk the Ryder Cup. That's going to be a hell of a conversation. We kind of teased it a little bit, but it's really going to be a topic of debate here that I'm looking forward to. So, yeah, man, any final thoughts of the BMW, the Tour Championship coming up, this season as a whole? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, it was a very fun season, man. I felt like I learned a lot doing shows and producing articles, getting into courses, and I feel like it's put me in a really good spot going into next year, having a little bit of background on all these tracks and just becoming more familiar with players. So I thought it was an an absolutely successful year. Always love to end it on a high note with a couple outrights here in the playoffs, and to be able to cover my first PGA Tour event in the postseason on a historic track like Olympia Fields, man, really was a dream come true. And like I said, hopefully just the first of many, and hopefully the next one is at TPC Summerlin in Las Vegas, Nevada here in just under 2 months, Joey.
That's wild to think that's under 2 months away.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Thanks to Victor Hovland, by the way, for helping me book my flight.
Yeah, use all that money on that. Let's go. It's still got some to spare, actually.
Plenty. I actually found a pretty cheap flight, and I've got a buddy out there, so I don't got to pay for hotels or nothing.
Oh, there you go. See,
yeah,
you're hooked up, booked up. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I cannot believe. I remember doing that show like it was yesterday. The
I still remember Cantlay finding the shit with his drive either on 17 or 18 where he got stuck in that bush and then he tried to hit it out of the bush and he hit it into the water. And now I'm like, Tommy Kim, 20 years old, 2 PGA Tour wins. What a fucking guy.
Man, Mr. Electricity too after that win. Like everybody was on the Tom Kim train. You had to be.
Glad to see him finish this year strong because he went through struggles, but again, it's going to happen when you're 21 years old on the PGA Tour.
I'm glad that he went through it.
Yeah.
I think that's only going to make him better for this next season. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him really in the runnings to do damage, like serious damage as far as like a major goes too. I know we talked about a little bit this season about him being in the runnings for a major, like true chance to win.
I think
don't be surprised.
I think the Open's going to be the one for him. The Masters or the Open. I think the US and the PGA might be a little too long for him, but I'm still not going to put it past him. The kid's incredible.
Dude, I had a futures on him for the Masters, I think, and then I was like, because my odds got like worse as the tournament got closer. Like the week of the tournament, I'm like,
yeah, because he was struggling early out the gate in 2023. But yeah, dude, such an awesome season. Such an awesome season, man.
I have no idea how we went down the Tom Kim, trail there, but that's just what happens when we just continue to talk. So with that said, though, it's been an awesome season. We are going to go ahead and get out of here. Hopefully put together another outright win this week, and we will talk to you again soon to talk about the Ryder Cup. We are Golf on Tap. Follow all the social media accounts. You can follow it on Tap Golf. You can follow Jack at Jack Bushman 2. Follow me at Joey Knows Nothing. Thanks again to Kyle for jumping on here, both for the preview and for the recap of the BMW Championship. Go to ontapsportsnet.com for all your Chicago sports needs. And shout out to Bet Rivers, our sponsor. Promo code ONTAP. Promo code ONTAP for an up to $250 deposit match at Bet Rivers. With that said, crack them, cash them, lock them, fuck them. We're out.